All right, guys, today we're going to react to ex-Tennessee Titans right tackle Lewan talking about Joe Burrow, the fifth-year option, and all that kind of good stuff. So let's go ahead and listen up to see what he has to say.
Fifth year option is essentially just it has to get picked up in the offseason between your third and fourth year by like May 7th, we'll say. And so when it's picked up, it's like, hey, we got you on contract for another year. Hopefully we can get something done before that. It's like keeping you away from free agency because the closer you get to free agency, that's obviously where the bigger dollars are at. So I don't think fifth year option is going to matter much for Joe because he's going to get that deal done. He's not going to put himself in a Kirk Cousins situation where it's like, do we pay him? Do we franchise tag him? He's like top 3 quarterback in the league.
It seems like he wants to stay in Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, if you were him, you'd want to too. He's got a team around him. He's got a wide receiving core. His offensive line's gotten better in the offseason. Like, there's no reason why he wouldn't want to stay there. I think there's so many ways to get paid and also be team friendly. Like, look at Mahomes' deal. That 10-year, $500 million. Like that was a team friendly deal.
Right.
And it was front loaded every single year, and he'd be paying for like only a couple million during the season. Like they could easily do that for him. Very few guys in the NFL are able to be cake eaters. Joe is one of those guys that'll be able to.
All right, so first thing I'll allude to is his first point of the fifth-year option. And a lot of Bengals fans were actually confused when the Bengals did go ahead and put the fifth-year option on Joe. Because a lot of Bengals fans assumed that he would just get the contract, there would be a contract done before the fifth-year option window, and he would be extended right away. Well, obviously, the fifth-year option, all it does really is just keeps him on the contract for another year while they're working on the contract. I don't know if there ever be, other than, I would say this, but Lamar Jackson was just in this camp. There won't be too many more quarterbacks, I feel like, in the future who are going to be in the Kirk Cousins camp. If you guys do not know how Kirk Cousins, his situation worked, is that he was franchise tagged 2 times in a row. And then they actually ended up making a rule that you can't just endlessly franchise tag a quarterback or a player because that's kind of what the Vikings were going to do. They were going to franchise tag him endlessly. Now, obviously, that was back before the big boy contracts, right? The $230 million, $250 million contracts. So you could kind of like endlessly just money glitch or money hack with just franchise tagging your quarterback, because why not? If the quarterbacks aren't making that much money against the cap, you can just franchise tag him every single year and just keep him forever, in a sense. Nonetheless, though, so that whole fifth-year option thing, yeah, obviously it was picked up for that said reason. I know it upset a lot of people for, thinking like, oh, we're not going to keep Joe. This is why, and he does talk about the Patrick Mahomes deal, and this is why I do truly believe there's going to be a 10-year contract worked out. I know some experts and analysts are saying, oh, well, the reason why this contract is not done yet is because Joe's waiting for Justin Herbert to get his contract done so that he can get a little bit more than Justin Herbert. And I still firmly believe Joe does not care what Justin gets paid. Joe doesn't care what anyone gets paid. I think, in my true opinion, is that I think they're still working on the 10-year extension. They're working on the money on how much he'll get paid each year. Because you got to keep in mind that a 10-year extension, like the Mahomes contract, that is so much different than any 3, 4, 5, 6-year contract. Because you have to either backload it, or you have to put certain parameters in that contract that says, okay, you're going to make blank year 1. Year 2, the first 2 years, you might make a certain amount of money. It isn't that much money. But year 3, you're going to make a lot of money. And in year 4, you're not going to make that much money. It all balances out in the end, but it's a crazy length of time, right? It's 10 years. We've already know that Joe wants to stay with this team for, forever, pretty much. He never wants to leave this team. He said himself that the Super Bowl window for the Bengals is open as long as he's here. And he's not going to leave. So free agency, there's some players who free agency, they do interest because it's like, oh, well, I can go get paid. Lamar Jackson kind of had that interest when it came to leaving the Ravens and going to another team this offseason. But then there's quarterbacks who don't want to do that and want to get the contract done. So I think, again, like I said, the reason why it's taking so long is because of the 10-year contract. Now, to Taylor's point that there are ways to get paid outside of just getting paid money-wise is absolutely true. Obviously, yes, if you get a 10-year contract, then guess what happens? Now you get to keep players like Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Logan Wilson, Cheeto, all of the above, right? You get to keep your star players. When you keep your star players, you go to Super Bowls, right? You win Super Bowls. What happens when you win Super Bowls? Now you're getting sponsorships. Now you're getting Nike. Now you're getting Reebok. Now you're getting Adidas. You're getting all these sponsorships, and now you're making probably 3 or 4 times the money that you would be if you, we'll say hypothetically speaking, again, this hypothetically, if you were to lose your star players. You know, teams, quarterbacks on teams like, let's say, for example, Davis Mills. Even if Davis Mills for the Texans was a great, fantastic quarterback, they're never going to win with Davis Mills. So he's never going to get that crazy, you know, the sponsorships by all these different, you know, companies, because he's not that face. He's not the face of the league. Now, Burrow, luckily, and with how he has played and him being in the Super Bowl and back-to-back championships, he has gotten himself to that point where he is the face of the league. But you can always go up even higher, right? And right now, Patrick is the number one, right? He is the face of the league. Everyone, when you think of football, you think of Patrick Mahomes. Well, in the foreseeable future, that's going to be Joe. And if Joe goes out there and wins 2 Super Bowls, yes, he might make, let's say he makes $10 million less a year than he probably should, than other quarterbacks. If he goes win 2 Super Bowls, first off, he is going to be making way more money from sponsorships, from incentives, from other things outside of just his contract. You know, I always say in life, right, you have different revenue sources as an NFL player. NFL players, NBA players, MLB players. You have more than one revenue source. Obviously, the contract is the biggest lump sum, but you can also make money outside of that. So, as he said, there is other ways to make money in this league. And we'll have to wait and see what's end up getting done. I know the first estimate was that they want to get this Joe Burrow contract done before the end of summer. So before the end of this month, right? Before the end of July, they want to get the Joe Burrow contract done. And that's easier said than done, right? Because after they get that done, then they can work on the T. Higgins contract. But they have to see how much money they have to set aside for the T's contract after they get done Joe. They can't, you can't just go, oh, well, we're going to skip past this Joe and go to T contract. No, you have to get it done. Now, there was rumors, again, Zim Hude, who said that, and he was wrong in the end, but he did allude to the fact that T's contract was already done. And I do feel like, to a certain degree, they might have a number in their head, T and the Bengals, that they've agreed on, but they haven't put pen to paper yet because they want to make sure they have the money after Joe's contract. That's a huge thing. So they might have a verbal agreement saying, hey, listen, T, how much do you want? Okay, we're going to pay you this amount of money, but we have to make sure Joe's contract does not interfere with that. Because obviously you have your priorities. Number 1 is Joe. Then is probably T. Higgins. Number 3, I would say, is Logan Wilson. Then Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase obviously can get the extension. He does not need that at this moment in time. But yeah, so with that being said, guys, tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. Don't really love Lewan as a player because he was kind of a jackwagon on the field. He was not a really good guy. He would always fight and get into fights, and he was just overall a crazy guy. But you know what? I agree with some of his opinions here, so I'm just going to say that. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.